Students, welcome back. In the previous video, I explained about the variable declarations. Now coming to the different data types that are used in the C programming. So variables are nothing but it is a name given to a memory locations. So whereas data types specifies the set of values. So it specifies the set of values and type of data, what type of data we are using. It specifies a set of values and type of data that can be stored in variable. So variable is a name given to a memory location. So this is a memory location. Here we are giving a name to a variable. So here suppose the var is a variable name. So here this is a memory location. For this memory location we are giving a name, that is a variable name. So this data type specifies the set of values. So var1, var2, so many variables are stored in this memory location. And type of data that is stored in variables. So what type of data that is stored in these variables, whether it is an integer type. So var1 may be an integer 24. Suppose a var2 is a character like sum. So like that. So this data type specifies the set of values. So these are the set of values and type of data that can be stored in variables. What type of data that can be stored in variables, whether an integer or a characters, like that. So this is a data types. So this also allows stored in variables. They allow the programmer, the data types allow the programmer to select the type appropriate to the needs of application. So that will be decided by the programmer. The programmer may he can select, means his choice, he can select whether a integer data type or character type based on the requirement, based on the needs of the application. So data types allows the programmer to select the type appropriate the needs of the applications. Now coming to, there are different types of data types. Different types of data types will be used in C programming. One is primitive data type. Next, derived data type. Enum data type, and void data type. So these are the four different data types that are used in the C programming. So primitive data types are nothing but you can take the examples of integer, character, float, double. So these are all the primitive data types. So derived data types are pointers, arrays, structures, unions. These you call it as a derived data types. So enum is to calculate the explains the sequence of the data type. So whatever the data type we have taken, whatever the variable we have taken, that it explains the sequence. So what incremented by 1. And void is it doesn't return any value. So if you want to make the main program don't want to return any value, you can represent with a void data type. So void doesn't return any value. A function that cannot return a value, you can declare it as a void data type. Okay, so these are the four different data types that are present in the C programming. So let us see what are the primitive data types. So in this video I will explain about the primitive data types, enum and the void. So whereas the derived data types will be explained in the coming topics, like whenever we are discussing about the pointers, arrays and the structures. Now let us see the primitive data types. So in the primitive data types, the first data type, that is the integer. So what is this integer data type? So this is a integer data types. There are different integer data types are present. So those are, so first, a primitive data type in C compiler supports the 4 fundamental data types: integer, character, float, and double precision. So integer may be a signed or unsigned, whereas character is also signed or unsigned. Float is also a floating point is having the float, double, and long double will be there. Now coming to the first one, integer data type. So what is this integer data type? So this data type is used to store, this data type is used to store the whole numbers. So it is used to store the whole numbers. It has 3 classes of integer storage, namely short int, it has short int, long int. So integer data type holds 3 classes: short int, long int. Both all 3 are signed and unsigned. So all 3 can use the signed integers or as well as unsigned integers. So this is the types that are, and the size related to the type, and what is the range of that integer, and the control string will be used on that particular integer. So this is a signed short integer. So the signed short integer, the size of the in bytes. So only 1 byte will store the signed short integer. So the range will be -128 to +127. So here we use the control string %h. So whenever you are reading the characters, so whenever you are reading the integers, you have to represent, whether if you are using the short int, you have to make it as in the scanf, you have to use the %h and the variable name %ha. So it's a variable name. So this control string is used to read the integers. So whatever the integers we are using, whether if you are using the short int, you have to use the %h. If you are using the unsigned short int, you have to use the %uh. Okay, and this is the size of the unsigned integer, and the range will be for unsigned 0 to 255. And now coming to the integer. So the integer, or you call it as a signed int, the size in bytes is 2 bytes will be stored in signed int. So the range will be from -32768 to 32767. The control string that is used for the signed integer, or simply integer, %d or %i. Now coming to the unsigned int. Unsigned int, the size in bytes is the 2. And the range is from 0 to 65535. And here we will use the control string as %lu. And signed long int. So long int will be signed as well as unsigned. So the size of the long int will be, it stores only 4 bytes, up to 4 bytes. And this will be the range of signed int, and this is the range of unsigned int. The control string that will be used for the signed long int is %ld, whereas unsigned long int is %lu. So this is primitive data types, the integer data type. Now let us see the character data type. So what is this character data type? So another primitive data type that mostly used in the C program is the character data type. So the character data type is also having the characters, signed character and unsigned characters. So actually this character data type, it is used to store characters. These characters are internally stored as integers. Actually these characters will internally store as the integers only. So the range will be is the same for the integers. So internally stored as integers, and each character has equivalent ASCII character. So each character, whatever the character we have taken, for that you have the equivalent ASCII value, that is the integer value will be there. Suppose if you are taken A is a character. The character will be represented with a single colon. So if you are representing string means, the string means will be with double quotes. So character A has the ASCII equivalent value of is ASCII value of A is 65. So this is the equivalent value of A. So that's why we are saying it is used to store characters. These are internally stored as integers. So internally A you call it as a 65. Okay. So now coming to the character types are of data types, two types: character signed int and character unsigned. So the size in bytes, both will store as 1 byte only. It will store. The range of the signed character is -128 to +127, whereas unsigned character is 0 to 255. And for both the signed and unsigned character, we use the control string as %C. So this is about the character data type. And one more primitive data type will be there, that is a floating point data type, that I explain in the next video. Thank you.